next on UBC. Brought to you by
Keep the lights on. Use Airtel Money to pay for all your Yaka bills conveniently. Open the My Airtel app to buy Yaka units. Airtel Money. Simple, secure, borderless.
Hello and welcome to News Tonight. I am Rhoda Ngonzi on sign language and Elizabeth Nakakoni will dig into it. The Bishop of Masaka Diocese, Various Jumba, has described the late Archbishop Lwanga as one that not only preached the word of God, but also took part in developing his nation. Jumba was leading Mass at Namugongo Martyrs Basilica, also attended by hundreds of mourners.
There was a beehive of activity in and around Namugongo Catholic Martyr Shrine as Christians made their way to attend a requiem mass to celebrate the life of the fallen Kampala Archbishop, Dr. Cyprian Kizito Lwanga, who died Saturday morning. Masaka Catholic Diocese Bishop Savas Jumba, who was the main celebrant, eulogized the late Archbishop Dr. Cyprian Lwanga, saying he not only succeeded in evangelization, but also stood for the truth in the country and beyond.
I have no doubt that Archbishop Cyprian Kizito Lwanga, now late, when he chose the motto Labora et ora, pray and work, he was trying to manifest himself as a vigilant soldier to protect the flock, the sheep, a courageous prophet everywhere you go. Every person in Uganda, any denomination, is saying he has been the voice of the voiceless and a courageous one.
According to a post-mortem report from Lago National Referral Hospital, Lwanga succumbed to ischemic heart disease following coronary heart thrombosis. Dr. Chris Variomosi, who represented government, used the opportunity to educate about the type of sickness that took Archbishop Lwanga's life.
If you remember in your biology, the heart has arteries, blood vessels which supply it with blood. We call them coronary arteries. When blood gets oxygen in the lungs, that blood which is oxygenated then comes to the heart, it serves the heart, and the heart also pumps it to serve the rest of the body. Situations occur where those arteries, those blood vessels get clogged with fatty deposits. Fat can deposit on the inside walls of those coronary arteries, those blood vessels, especially in adult life. After the age of 40, 50, those are risky years when we are predisposed to some of these challenges.
Don't wait to go to the hospital when you are sick. Go to the hospital when you are healthy. That means you want to confirm you are in a healthy situation. That means you need to go 2 to 3 years, 2 to 3 times in a year. Ensure your pressure is normal. Ensure your blood pressure is okay. Ensure your blood sugar is okay. You check, if possible, if you can afford, check for your heart.
Baryomunsi commended Luanga and the Catholic Church for the cordial relationship, taking Uganda forward.
Has impacted on not only the people of Uganda, but even beyond the boundaries of this country. And as a government, we join you to mourn a gallant son of this country, an iconic figure, a hero who has done a lot of good work in the service of God.
Mourners had a last glimpse on the man of God, Luanga, who will be laid to rest this Thursday inside Lubaga Cathedral. Bernard Higa, UBC News.
Now, relatedly, Kampala Archdiocese and the Metropolitan Police have issued stringent guidelines to be followed by the public ahead of the 8th April final send-off for the late Archbishop Cyprian Kizito Lwanga. Only invited and accredited mourners across all divides will be given access to the cathedral.
Top police management has appeared before the Parliamentary Committee on Human Rights to defend their actions during the recent elections.
Wait, you're arresting me for what?
This was after the Speaker of Parliament directed for an investigation following numerous reports and petitions received at her office, pinning the police for brutality in the elections. However, police denied any involvement in human rights violation. Instead,
the late Archbishop of Kampala Archdiocese, Dr. Cyprian Kizito Lwanga, is to be laid to rest at Lubaga Cathedral this Thursday after a funeral service to be presided over by Michana Diocese Bishop Dr. Anthony Ziwa. However, the attendance will be entirely on invitation and accreditation.
The burial will be attended by a few selected persons due to lack of space given the rules of social distance. This is a very crucial point that I think the church will emphasize, that whoever is going to be attending this burial will be invited and selected by the church.
There are a specific category of people. Even not all politicians were invited, but those people who are carefully selected, first of all, Christians. They are Christians that we have invited, not because they hold positions in any way, but simply because they are Christians and they are having special attachment to the Archbishop.
Police is deploying around the church to ensure compliance to COVID-19 SOPs, mainly social distancing.
Given the COVID-19 pandemic that is still affecting the country and the world, we urge invited guests to follow Ministry of Health guidelines to control the spread of the coronavirus, and we are hoping that all of them are going to come putting on masks, face masks. Whoever will come without a face mask will be turned back or will be forced to buy those that will be available at the entrance.
We do know that every Christian and every person has the right to mourn their dead, and no one can take away the right to mourn your dead in whatever circumstance. All of you who will have the chance to come to Lubaga Cathedral tomorrow, please, we kindly beg that you follow all the procedures that have been put by the security personnel.
Police and the diocese leadership have advised the rest of the public to follow the burial proceedings from different media platforms.
Due to COVID-19 pandemic, the Archdiocese of Kampala has requested the faithful to participate in the funeral remotely by way of using television, radio, and social media.
To those residing around Lubaga, those who will be heading for the vigil and residents of Lubaga have been guided on how to maneuver around the cathedral.
There will be traffic diversions at Nabunya Junction, Kabusu Roundabout, and Lubaga Hospital at Mutesa Road. This means that access around Nabunya Junction and Kabusu Roundabout will be limited to a few people. Most people will have to turn away when they see those cut-off points. Lubaga Road leading to the cathedral will also be restricted to motorists. All VIPs will access the cathedral through Kabusu Roundabout to Stensela Road and park at Centenary Bank parking yard. Uganda Matters University and Social Center. Those from Mutesa Road will park at Lubaga Girls School and Lubaga Hospital parking yards.
The Requiem Mass will begin with the viewing of the body from 8 to 9:30 a.m. Later, the Bishop of Michana Diocese, Dr. Anthony Siwa, will officiate the Mass that begins at 10 a.m. Robert Onyango, UBC News, Kampala.
And be sure to abide by those stringent guidelines. Now, relatedly, President Yoweri Museveni has contributed 200 million shillings towards the burial expenses of the late Archbishop Dr. Cyprian Kizito Lwanga. In his condolence message delivered by Colonel John Byuma and the President's private secretary Vincent Musinguzi to the Archbishop's family in Chabakadde, Mukono district, President Museveni consoled the family and urged them to remain strong and united even as they mourn a great leader. The Archbishop's family was represented by Justin Mayanja, the younger brother of the late religious leader. Now preparations are in high gear for the final Requiem Mass for the late Catholic Archbishop Kampala Diocese Dr. Cyprian Kizito Lwanga, who died on 3rd April this year after he commemorated the ecumenical way of the cross. The bishop will be laid to rest in Lubaga Cathedral on the 8th of April.
Even though media was not allowed to cover the construction of the crypt where Archbishop Dr. Cipriano Kizito Lwanga will be laid to rest, it is confirmed that all is set for the burial of the fallen man of God.
Once a bishop is ordained, is entrusted, is enthroned even in a cathedral, where that's his seat for guiding his people spiritually and pastorally. So that's why even you see him, he stands over there with the staff to continue to shepherd his people. And now if he passes on, as I told him that it is better also to put him into his cathedral for people, number one, to come and pray easily, and also to continue to understand his authority and the power of a bishop as far as our church is concerned.
Significance is that the original significance was that these were very holy people, and they were it was believed they're already in the presence of God. So them being close to us within our services, what we call the liturgy or mass, because we believe that when we celebrate a mass, the whole church is together, those who are alive and those who have passed on. So it is a sign of their presence among us, even though they have died, but they are present with us during our liturgy or during our worship.
The Chancellor clarified on what has been making rounds on social media, that the bishop's grave had been dug long time ago.
They might speculate that it has been there but no. They started even just 2 days. And I tell you what, it has not been easy at all for them, because there has been the concrete and the tiles that have made them at least a full day just to chisel it out, so that I think they come up with a good water.
World over, many cathedrals have crypts holding remains of their bishops and cardinals. As of now, the body of Dr. Cipriano Kizito Lwanga is already at Rubaga after a public church service at the Martyrs Shrine in Namgongo. However, due to the COVID-19 pandemic standard operating procedures, a few people will have access to the cathedral where the Archbishop will be buried, but the church has asked believers to take advantage of Mass that will be recited at the same time as in Rubaga. Helen Barbara Chizamba reporting for UBC TV.
Meanwhile, President Yoweri Museveni and Church of Uganda have eulogized the late former Bishop of Madi and West Nile Diocese, the Right Reverend Remelia Ringtho. He was described as a developmental and oriented leader in the region. This was during his burial service at Paduk Village, War Sub-County, Zombo District.
The former Bishop of Madi and West Nile Diocese, the late Bishop Remelia Ringtho, has been laid to rest. Ringtho was the longest-serving Ugandan bishop and has reportedly been instrumental in the spiritual direction of the people of West Nile. Bishop of Northern Uganda, the Right Reverend Johnson Kakumba, represented Archbishop Dr. Stephen Kazimba Mugalu at the burial.
His services as a Bishop of Madi and West Nile Diocese from 1977 to 1987 gave a spiritual direction to the people of West Nile region. He will be remembered for his love, joy, and perseverance in the challenges of this life.
The State Minister for Northern Uganda, Grace Freedom, Queen Chwin, represented President Museveni at this funeral. Museveni said Bishop Remelia Ringtho advocated for wealth creation among the population of West Nile sub-region.
Bishop Remelia was a humble and faithful servant of God, whose noble actions and wise counsel helped to grow the Christian faith in Uganda and beyond. He will be remembered as a practical Christian who placed equal emphasis on both the spiritual and physical needs of the people. This is demonstrated by the numerous development projects which he initiated while serving as the Bishop of West Nile Diocese.
Retired Archbishop His Grace Henry Luke Orombi, who is also the current caretaker of Nebi Diocese, disclosed that the late Remelia proved himself as a good steward when he kept resources of Madi and West Nile Diocese amidst the 1980s war.
And he kept his faith. During the war of 79, he was in Arua. Our father kept the money of Mighty West Nile Diocese.
During his tenure, Bishop Remelia Ringtho reportedly led to the construction of the current Emmanuel Cathedral located at Mvara and St. Philip's Church of Uganda in the center of Arua city. Ringtho died on Thursday at Kuluva Hospital at the age of 92 after losing a long battle to stroke. He was buried at his home, Alia Church of Uganda, a few meters away from his ancestral home in Paduk village, Zombo district.
May his soul rest in peace. Now, Rubaga Cathedral is a beehive of activity as preparation for the funeral service of the late Dr. Cyprian Kizito draws near. Mourners are in and out of the cathedral praying for the repose of the Archbishop's soul while observing standard operating procedures.
There is a rare silence as one drives to Rubaga Cathedral. The entire hill is mourning Archbishop Dr. Cyprian Rwanga. This has been a home to Dr. Cyprian Kizito Rwanga, the Archbishop of the Catholic Church, who passed on over the weekend. Social distancing and measures to manage the expected large numbers in a manner that is consistent with the standard operation procedures to combat the spread of COVID-19 are on. Indeed, despite the measures at hand, many traveled miles with belief that the body will be availed for public viewing at the cathedral. On arrival, the body was taken to his residence. To those that had waited for mourning, they felt disappointed. Some of the mourners who surrounded the cathedral couldn't hide the good deeds of the late. Many referred him as most loving, kind, and educative. The Chancellor of Rubaga Cathedral, Reverend Father Malay, described him as a hard-working servant of God who loved his calling and served humanity, thanking God for the life of the cleric and thanked all those who supported him during his cleric duties.
Yeah, first and foremost, he has been a very, very committed person, spiritual person, a hard-working person. And he has done a lot in the area of the spirituality. He has worked hard to see that all the priests are together and the faithful, they are being catered for pastorally on the parishes. He has worked a lot to uplift most of the parishes, constructing new ones, as well as the houses for priests, and also refurbishing most of the parishes within Kampala. We have about 70 parishes.
This time, Rubaga Cathedral was a beehive of activities in preparation for the burial ceremony slated for this Thursday.
Now, police has denied any involvement in human rights violations during the January 2021 general elections. The top management of the force that was appearing before the Parliamentary Committee on Human Rights instead blamed the opposition politicians and the general public for brutalizing and blackmailing the force during the campaigns.
Top police management has appeared before the Parliamentary Committee on Human Rights to defend their actions during the recent elections.
You arresting me for what?
This was after the Speaker of Parliament directed for an investigation following numerous reports and petitions received at her office, pinning the police for brutality in the elections. However, police denied any involvement in human rights violation, instead blamed opposition politicians and the public over vandalizing and assaulting their officers.
The Ugandan police force could not just sit by, see all this happen. No, because we are mandated to protect the citizens. Naturally, everyone has the right to defend himself. whenever is in the wrong. And this is partly the cause of some of these accusations. When someone is on the wrong, surely cannot talk good about the police.
We have had candidates during these elections, presidential candidates, who said we shall defy everything. It was on record. We are going to defy everything. What is the implication of defying everything? What is the implication of this? So these are some of the few things that probably brought problems between the security forces and some of these candidates. Because if you are going to say, I'm going to break every law that is there, and then somebody is supposed to observe the law, what would you expect the person who is supposed to show that there is law and order? What do you expect that person to do?
As such, the Director, Criminal Investigations, Grace Akulo, says close to 300 persons were arrested during the elections for various election malpractice, including terrorism and vandalism.
As Chair, we also had incidences. We registered 256 cases. And there were a number of offenses committed related to election-related offenses committed. And we arrested 598 persons, 261 were taken to court. Other cases remain under inquiry, and they are at different levels of investigations.
But you saw in Jinja, one of the RPCs restrained himself, a presidential candidate removing the mask from an RPC. So what would you have expected? And the RPC was cool. He just kept his cool, and these were the levels of provocation. So a number of officers were provoked.
Because we want to discuss as if all the issues, all the problems during elections were brought by police. Juxtapose this, Mr. Chairman. Take away the police, because the police were that. What would have happened? What would have happened? Which means there is something good that the police did. This election, by the way, international was hailed as a very peaceful election. Yes, you can laugh. It was hailed because what was expected, people were going to die, we are going to see bodies on the street, we are going to, all these things were said.
The investigations into the alleged violence and police brutality during 2021 general elections will culminate into a report to the executive for actions yet to be concluded by Parliament. Philip Aguta, UBC News in Kampala.
Now, residents of Himutu and Maizamasa sub-counties in Butaleja district are demanding for the removal of culverts they replaced on Manapoa River Bridge on Mbale Butaleja Road with immediate effect. They claim this is hampering movement.
Residents of Himutu and Maizamasa sub-counties in Butaleja are demanding that UNRA puts back the bridge instead of the culverts that are causing them problems. They are also asking for strong river banks be constructed to avoid the water from breaking into their homes and gardens.
So when the volume of the water increases, as this water moves, carries a lot of wastes. So those wastes had already blocked one culvert. So that culvert is not functioning as now.
This follows floods that hit the district hardly 2 weeks from the onset of the rains on Mount Elgon region. Homes and gardens have been flooded in the sub-counties of Himutu and Maizamasa sub-counties. In Muhuyu village in Doho parish in Maizamasa sub-county, farmers are counting losses after the Sunday rains. Muhuyu village chairman Ahamada Lumunya said since his existence on earth, this is miraculous that it rains once in the mountains and there are floods in Butaleja.
ne gatamalira ekitundu kyange naddala kyentwala kyonna. Kikosewa nnyo bw'oba nga tusimbye emmere era kasooli wuuno twagezezaako okusimba mu biseera by'omusana naye amazzi gaze gamusse.
According to Lumunya, this means there is a big problem ahead since more rains are expected in the next coming months. Zaina Nafula explained that she is facing losses after the water destroyed her 1-acre garden of tomatoes. One of the teachers at Doho Primary School, Juma Munaba, said the school structures were submerged and the school garden was equally affected.
So all that way from Manafa, by the time it reaches in Butaleja, the river, the volume of the water had increased. And so here, when it finds a narrow passage, it has to wash to break the banks and flood in the fields around.
According to Munaba, now that this point is open to the water, they are expecting more disaster. He said the next step is to close the school once it rains heavily in the mountains.
And 2 people have drowned in Lake Kayumbu, Chibumba Parish in Kisoro district. The accident is suspected to have been caused by a strong wind which hit the canoe on which the deceased were sailing.
Residents of Morora sub-county in Kisoro district are searching for 2 people who drowned into Lake Kayumbu in Chimbumba Parish, Kisoro district. This accident happened on Tuesday evening when a canoe carrying 4 people was hit by water waves. Residents say that they have been searching for the persons in vain. A local leader, James Basabose, says they need good boats because they use canoes, which are risky, and want government to provide them with quality boats. A week ago, 2 miners drowned in Lake Mutanda and died instantly.
Now, recently elected breastfeeding National Resistance Movement affiliated members of parliament have been asked to stay away from the upcoming retreat at the National Leadership Institute, Chankwanzi. NRM Deputy Secretary General Richard Edwong says this is meant to avoid risks associated with the spread of COVID-19. He made these remarks at Kololo Independence Grounds as NRM's new MPs took their COVID-19 tests in preparation for the 3-week scheduled retreat.
The expectations are great.
I'm really very happy to see that I'm going to be in Chankwanzi tomorrow. I'm getting acquainted with the parliamentary work.
It is time for us now to gather together as members of NRM.
Kololo Independence Grounds was the place to be as newly elected NRM members of parliament took their COVID-19 tests. This is meant to prevent the spread of the virus as the party embarks on its upcoming retreat in Chankwanzi.
We are going to be in Nandi for 3 weeks. We are going to isolate for the first 7 days. We shall pick the next sample on 13th. And if all of us are okay and we don't have COVID, we shall move on.
All newly elected members of parliament have been invited, including expectant mothers, with the exception of breastfeeding mothers. It has been explained by the NRM Secretariat.
Breastfeeding mothers have been spared the process because it is very difficult to enforce the SOPs for the children and the babies.
You cannot expect a country that has promoted gender equity where they expect women to be representatives in this parliament and they think that they are not supposed to be active in the reproductive roles. So it is denying them the right, first of all, to participate, a right to gain information from what the other members are going to be trained in, and therefore for me I think it's wrong.
These concerns come at a time these MPs are scheduled to report to Chankwanzi for 3 weeks retreat. They have a lot of anxiety with high expectations for orientation.
It's really an opportunity for us to get to the ground and be able to know what the people's expectations of us as members of parliament, representing their interests, and of course our people are interested in service delivery.
My expectation is that the next 3 weeks we need to, forge some unity as a party.
The training in Chankwanzi will add something on our leadership skills.
As for the incumbents, who like their breastfeeding counterparts have not been invited, it has a bearing on concluding parliamentary work.
It would not be fair to leave the work of parliament. Remember, the NRM party is the majority in parliament. So if you don't have the majority party, that means the work, particularly the work that is relating to the budget process, will be stored.
Maybe they only needed to go and renew their faith in the party.
The NRM members of parliament are scheduled to meet in Chankwanzi for 3 weeks, starting Thursday, 7th April 2021. The next COVID-19 test for these MPs will be conducted after 6 days before the official opening of the retreat on 15th April 2021. Henry Okurut, UBC.
Uganda People's Defense Forces UPDF has plans of putting up a museum to profile King Kabalega and all personalities that have made significant contributions to the country. The head of the UPDF Chieftaincy of Doctrine, Lieutenant General Pecos Kutesa, disclosed this during the commemoration of 98 years since King Kabalega died at Mpumude in Jinja District on his way from exile. This was at Mparo Royal Tombs in Hoima East Division, Hoima City.
Tuesday, 6th April this week marked 98 years after the death of King Kabalega's Bunyoro Kingdom, a king that fits the shoes of a true Pan-Africanist. The head of the UPDF Chieftaincy of Doctrine, Lieutenant General Pecos Kutesa, said King Kabalega played a key role in fighting the British colonialists and has greatly contributed to Uganda's history.
Kabalega inherited a divided kingdom. Every kingdom, every small, because of command, control, and communication. Kabalega, whatever he fought for, is what we're aiming at.
In a lecture by Bunyoro Kingdom, Yoram Nsamba, King Kabalega was described the conqueror of some areas in DRC and some parts of Tanzania. The Bunyoro Kingdom Prime Minister Andrew Byakutaga said leaders need to emulate the example of King Kabalega since he committed himself to fight the British in order to protect his empire. The UPDF Land Forces Chief of Staff, Major General Leopold Chanda, appreciated the government for recognizing the work done by Kabalega.
Uganda hano tuina abantu bengi ababeine example ya Kabalega baitu omuntu omukulu muno president wetu
His Excellency the President, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni.
King Kabalega defeated the British and the Ottomans who sought to colonize his empire, and on 1st January 1894, the British declared war on Bunyoro. At the height of the British offensive on his empire, Kabalega went into hiding in Acholi under the protection of Chief Awich Abog of Paira. It is from there that he consistently led Nyangire rebellion that proved a thorn in the photo of the colonialists.
20 vocational training centers in Bugweri district have received tailoring and hairdressing equipment. The equipment is in fulfillment of a presidential pledge to implement the skilling program. Now, the catering machines were received by Life Care Skilling Coalition, the implementers. President Museveni met this pledge in 2019.
Mukono Life Care Skilling Coalition is to start implementing a program aimed at equipping youth from 133 local councils in Bugweri district with vocational skills. This follows fulfillment of the presidential pledge to provide training equipment that include tailoring and hairdressing machines to 20 training centers.
Nebimu ku president byasuubiza kuba yasuubiza ebintu bya training centers nga awayire kitongole kya Mukono Life Care. Then yasuubiza ebintu kinoomu okubanga buli mwana aweebwaki ebintu.
Over 10,000 people in Busoga region have been trained in this presidential program as compared to 8,000 that graduated in the first phase in 2019. However, the second graduation is yet to be held.
Mulimu abachoka, mulimu abasweta, mulimu abatailoring, hairdressing, bakery, bona bali omwo. Tubaye tusuubira nti omwezi ogw'omukaaga twabaye tufulumya abaana mutwalo mulala nga n'ekitundu. Aye graduation ekaali naaga.
There are
Nawakai woman member of Parliament Juliet Subi Matama has declared her bid to contest for speakership in the 11th Parliament. She is just 32 years and has now become the 5th legislator to declare interest in the speakership position, but also the second female MP after the incumbent Rebecca Kadaga. While addressing the media at Parliament, Matama says her focus will be the empowerment of the youth once elected as Speaker.
As a Speaker, voted to be a Speaker of Parliament, I will make sure that I influence a sizable amount in the budget processes. I will make sure that at least the youth are given 50%, since we are the highest in the population of this country. I'll make sure that at least the youth are funded more to make sure that there is job creation. That is one. To make sure that the private sector and even government organizations have an increased job uptake. How can I do this? You can put tax holidays for private companies, and you can make it mandatory for government organizations to make sure that 50% of the employees are youth. Because we have gone to school, everything has been put in place, but job creation and youth unemployment has kept being a problem. It's just because we are not included in the top leadership of this country. And the only way is to have shares in the three arms of government, and this is Parliament. Thank you.
And with that, we take a quick break. When we return, more details. This is News Tonight.
No one should stop you from finishing what's yours. That's why MTN gives you data bundles that don't expire. MTN Freedom bundles using my MTN app and enjoy the freedom to finish your data bundles. MTN.
Today tastes like a new tradition, like an old favorite. Tastes like all hands on deck and all eyes on the prize. Today tastes like a piece of the action. And it never tasted this good.
Experience 100% 4G speeds across Uganda with the Airtel 4G Pocket Wi-Fi available at 123,000 shillings only. It comes with a backup battery and 15 GB free for 1 month. Visit the nearest Airtel shop, device selling shop or Airtel online shop. www.airtel.co.ug/broadband-discover. Airtel, the smartphone network.
That's their way of stopping HIV. What about you?
Leaders who care create a good learning environment. Because a good school equals a better life. Raising voices.
Introducing Cleveland Hill Day and Boarding Primary School, located in Chewando, Chisalo-Salo, along Bukoto Roundabout, 2 kilometers from Kalere at the Northern Bypass, on your way to Chisasi. This is a world-class standard school with the most qualified teachers that will turn your child into a world changer. We have a fully stocked library,